I'm Tash. I'm from Quirky Hand Knits. This is me. I design and create beautifully hand knitted accessories, and my aim is to provide tips and to empower other knitters to create the best knitting that they can do. You can find me online here on YouTube, but also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Periscope and Ravelry. And I'm Quirky Hand Knits in all of those places. So in the last video I've been showing you how to create this beautiful short row heel, and in the last video we looked at how to work the wraps knitwise and purlwise that give you this lovely seam here, which is completely holeless. See, it doesn't come apart at all, not even when you wear it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at how to finish it off and how to create this section here, which gives you a holeless seam from the heel back into the stitches for the foot, because we're knitting this cuff down now, which is, I've got some stitch markers and these are going to be useful. I've also got a crochet hook. You can do this without, but I find this is really helpful, and I've got my sock and my yarn. So I'm just going to move these out of the way for a second. Apologies for the noise on my wooden table, and move the yarn too. And what we're going to do is, I've just got 2 more wraps to work, so I thought I might give you a quick recap of how it works. So this is my last purl stitch, and then I'm going to work this wrap purlwise. So let me just see if I can focus this a bit better. There we go, that's a bit better. And you have to get your needle under both the wraps, which it doesn't want to do on camera for me. Apologies, it's not being particularly helpful. Here we go. So I've got those under there, and I'm going to purl this stitch, and you always work the wraps on the right side of your work. Now that could be the front or the back depending upon which way you're facing, but always on the right side. And then I'm just going to pull these 2 wraps over. They don't want to play ball today. There we go. And then wrap this last stitch. And knit back the other way. Now this last stitch that I'm wrapped, I'm not actually going to come back with another short row and sort it, but don't worry, because this will be sorted when we work the next one, the next row. So I just need to knit back across these stitches. Go over halfway. There we go, that's the last stitch I needed to knit, and now I'm just going to work these 2 wraps knitwise. So I've gone down through them on the right side of the fabric. I'm going to push that needle through and knit that stitch, and then pass the 2 wrap stitches over. Okay, and that's our last wrap stitch work. Okay, so from this point we're going to go back to knitting in the round, because actually we've done all of the wraps, certainly on this side. I think there's 1 left to work on this side, which I will show you how to work it, but all the wraps are neatly done and they are holeless. They've all worked really well. So what I'm going to do is show you now how to join these bits together, and this is where you need your crochet hook. So I'm just going to hold that here. Now, can you see that there's a stitch here, and then there's a bar, and then there's a stitch here? So what we're going to do now is we're going to pick up, lift the bar and pick up another stitch, which is creating 3 stitches for this hole here. And by creating these 3 stitches, we're going to close this gap really neatly. So whenever you stop doing, whenever you've got to this point, I want you to look for the first bar that's underneath your work and the 2 stitches that are either side. Now don't worry that the stitch has already got another stitch coming out of it, doesn't matter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my crochet hook, because I find that easier, just to wrap it round, and then I twist it slightly and pop it on the needle. Okay, then I'm going to lift the bar, so that grey bar there, and then I'm going to use my crochet hook again to pick up another stitch. Remember, through that stitch that we saw, so round the crochet hook needle, and then I'm going to twist it slightly. No, it doesn't want to go. Here we go. There we go. And pop it on the needle. So I think you can see I've just created 2 stitches and I've lifted the bar. The last thing I'm going to do now is knit into this stitch. Okay, so that actually looks quite nice and tight on the needle. And then I'm going to pop a stitch marker on. That tells me that that's where the place is that I've got to come back to. I'm going to knit across this needle now, right the way round to here, to the other gap. So I'm just going to do that and I'll come back when that's done. So I've knitted round, oh, I'm just trying to grab my yarn. I've knitted round to 2 stitches before the next gap. So before I knit those 2 stitches, let's just have a look at this gap here. So if you pull them slightly, you can see that's the bar that I want to lift, and it goes into this stitch here and this stitch here. You can also see that this stitch is still wrapped. Don't worry, we're going to deal with this as we do this. So I'm going to knit this stitch, and then this one, and then being mindful of where the bar was, I'm going to insert my crochet hook into this stitch here, wrap it round, put it through. It doesn't want to go. Did it go? No, it didn't. It's kind of tricky doing this on camera. It's not the right angle. There we go. So that's that stitch. And then we're going to lift the bar, which you can see is grey. And then we're going to create another stitch. We're going to pick up another stitch. And that one's going to come from this, in the middle of this stitch here. So round the crochet hook, and over the needle. Okay, and we don't actually need that crochet hook again. Okay, so you can see I've created 3 stitches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work this stitch with the wrap on it, but instead of going down on this wrap, we're going to go up from the bottom up to the top, and just catching the first wrap, we're going to knit this stitch, and then we're going to pass this wrap over the top. Okay, and then the last thing we're going to do is just pop another stitch marker here so that we can see where the stitches were that we made. Okay, and then This is the setup row that I've been showing you how to do, and then what you would have to do is knit round to 5 stitches before the marker, so before this first marker at the end of the heel. So I'm going to do that and come back. Okay, so I've knitted round to 6 stitches before the marker, 2, 4, 6, you can see. So I need to knit this stitch and then we're going to work these 5, and by the time we finish working these 5 stitches they will be decreased back down to 2, because in the setup row we increased this by 3 stitches and we now need to decrease them all so that they're not there any longer. Okay, so I'm going to knit this stitch, and then the next thing we do is to knit 3 stitches together. So you need to make sure that your stitches are lying in the right way, and by that I mean with the legs the right way, and they are. They're all lying in the right way. Don't worry about the bar that's lying the wrong way. It will always lie the wrong way. Okay. And you have to do this really carefully because it's quite tricky to get your needle, there we go, through all 3 stitches together and knit them as one. So that's 2 stitches and the bar. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the next stitch is a slip slip knit. So slip one knitwise, slip the next one knitwise, then you put your non-working needle and it's not playing ball, back through, and we knit them together through the back loop, and we've just decreased those 5 stitches down into 2. I'm going to slip this marker because actually it kind of tells me where the start of the round is. The start of the round is here in between these 2 stitches. I tend to put my marker for the start of the round either 1 or 2 stitches afterwards because it makes it easier. So what I'm going to do now is knit round to 5 stitches before the next marker, which we left round here, and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I'm nearly at the next marker. You can see that I have, there's the marker there, and I've got 2, 4, 6 stitches left to go before I get to it. So I need to knit this stitch so that we're 5 stitches before the marker, and then what we're going to do is we're going to knit 2 together. So that's 1 and 2. There we go. So you can still see the bar that was lifted, and then we're going to slip. We're going to. This is a stitch that I've kind of come up with myself. I think I'm not entirely sure it exists in the stitch dictionary. So it's SSSK. So it's slip times 3 knit. So the bar is already lying in the right direction. We're not going to change that. And then we're going to slip this one knitwise and this one knitwise. Put the left hand needle, the non-working needle, through the front of the stitches and knit them all together, as one through the back. There we go. And there we go. We've decreased that. This stitch marker is now redundant because it's not marking anything anymore, so we can take that one away. And then we would simply knit round to the next marker to start round 2. So we've done a setup round and round 1, and I would just be knitting round to get to round 2. But can you see how neat that is? And it's much the same on the other side. It's incredibly neat. So there we go. That's how to finish the wraps for the holeless short row heel, and to work the close as well so that you don't get any gaps there either. And I hope that you found this video useful. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channels to be notified of future videos, and give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Come find me elsewhere in the on the internet and tell me what you thought of it. I'd really love to hear from you. And if you're making one of my patterns, I really hope it's going well. See you soon. Bye.